Spring is in the air, and that means all things green and verdant, such as this risotto with asparagus, basil, and sweet peas. It's a perfect pairing for any protein, but for us, the succulence of a seared scallop can't be matched. Easy and elegant, that is a match made in heaven. Alrighty, we'll get started by cutting the woody, dry end off of our asparagus spears. I've got 1 pound here. As always, the exact amounts and ingredients will be down below. We'll then go ahead and chop this asparagus up into about 2-inch segments, making sure we leave those asparagus tips for a very special purpose at the end. Start by taking your asparagus stalks, placing those in a sauce pot, and just barely cover them with water. Season with salt, bring to a boil, and cook for 3 to 5 minutes or until they are tender. Next up, we're going to toss in a few basil leaves, and you could put this in a stand mixer or blender. I'm just using my immersion blender, and I'm going to go ahead and give that the business until it is nice and smooth and bright green. Just set that aside. We'll come back to it later. Alright, let's get started on our risotto. We'll put a couple tablespoons, maybe a little more, of olive oil down in a skillet over medium-high heat. Add in 2 chopped shallots and start to sweat those out for 3 to 4 minutes until they get a little bit softened. Then we're going to bring 1 cup of arborio or any short grain rice of your choosing to the party. Carnaroli would be great if you could find it. Stir that around in that nice hot oil until it gets nice and toasty and nutty. We'll season that up with a generous cracking of pepper and a generous pinch of salt. That's a lot of rice. And now we'll start to add our liquids. We'll go in with a 1/2 cup of Pinot Grigio or any dry white wine of your choice. Stir that around until most of it has evaporated and absorbed. Once the skillet's looking kind of dry like that, we're going to add in 2 cups of veggie stock. I am making this risotto vegan. Obviously the entire recipe isn't, but like to give you guys options. You could use chicken broth and add butter and cream and cheese to this if you like, but this version is vegan. Once most of your stock is evaporated, you're going to add about another 1.5 cups, so that's 3.5 cups of total veggie broth or stock. And it's going to take you about 30 minutes of stirring and cooking until your rice has absorbed most of it and looks just like that. At this point, we are going to add in most, but not all of those asparagus tips that we saved. Stir them around, and then we're going to add in our asparagus puree. This is going to give our risotto a nice vibrant green color. That's got to go in right at the end, along with 3/4 cup of frozen peas. Just stir all that around. You're going to taste for final seasoning here. Give everything a nice stir. If you cook this too long, it's going to go grayish brown on you, so get it off the heat as quick as you can and set that aside. Next up, and finally, our scallops. I've got 1 pound of dry sea scallops here, meaning they have not been packed in liquid. That helps them brown in a beautiful way and have a better texture in my opinion. If all you can find are wet scallops, that's alright. You're just not going to get the same brown color that we are going to get here. So I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of olive oil followed by a tablespoon of butter to a non-stick skillet. Place the scallops in a concentric circle. I'm just cooking these to order right now, so it's just a pretty small skillet. We'll season them up with salt and pepper. This is over pretty high heat because we do want a nice crust on those scallops. After about 3 to 4 minutes, we should have a nice brown underside there. That looks perfect. Go ahead and give them a flip, and they'll only need 1 to 2 minutes on the second side for a nice medium to medium rare. You don't want to overcook your scallops lest they turn into chewing gum. We'll go ahead and get those out, and the final step of this beautiful dish is just to take those remaining asparagus spears, toss them around, maybe add a little oil if you need to, in a really hot skillet. Give them a nice sear. Seared and roasted asparagus taste totally different from steamed asparagus, so we're getting the best of both worlds with this dish. There's our beautiful risotto all plated up in a nice warm bowl. We'll put down a few of those sauteed asparagus spears. We'll add down 5 or 6 scallops. That's a good size serving, I'd say. And we're going to keep the garnishes pretty simple here. I've just got a nice sprig of basil, a couple more small little leaves that I'll tuck in here and there. And there you have it, my spring risotto with seared sea scallops. So we got to try one of these scallops. They are gorgeous looking on the outside And on the inside, I mean, look at that. It is juicy, succulent, translucent, perfectly cooked. If you've never had scallops or don't eat them often, I mean, a perfectly cooked scallop is a religious experience. It is sweet, it is savory, it is succulent. This risotto, that rice is perfectly cooked, has just a slight bite to it, but super creamy. Let's get a bite of everything all together so that I can pass into nirvana while you watch. Oh man, this is gonna be good. If you think risotto is a little too much work or get scared about working with expensive seafood like scallops, this is a really straightforward dish to make, even on a weeknight. Even while filming, it took me less than an hour. You have got to try it. I really highly suggest it. Impress your friends or your family and give this dish a try, or at the very least, go make something delicious.